Here we are again on the next stage of our exciting journey of propagating, growing new plants of this delightful Cordyline australis, the cabbage palm tree, Australian palm tree, Torbay palm tree, whatever you want to call it. It's not really a palm tree, to be honest, but anyway, it looks like a palm tree and it's very popular here in the UK and does very well. So on our previous video we were collecting some of these little white seeds that had developed through the course of the summer and the autumn, and we were just kind of trying to pick them off. The dead flower there, I got a couple there, yes I have, and we've got a load more here that we prepared earlier, and we're just starting now in the depths of darkest winter to sow these seeds. Let's get some more, very loosely, very sparsely over this this compost. Now this is compost, actually it's kind of recycled compost again, because seeds often don't need much in the way of nutrients initially. So this is old compost that we've used for potatoes and tomatoes this year, so there's a little bit of goodness left in it. We've added some sand to this because there's a danger with seeds that they can get too wet. Some seeds, you don't mind that, but these cordylines, you know, we just feel that, well, we found that they germinate well, they grow well if the soil doesn't get too wet. And of course, while they're still in this kind of seed form, they haven't got roots, they're not sucking up water, they're not using up any of the spare water in the compost, so there's a danger that they will sit in soil that's kind of too damp, and there's no way of getting rid of that moisture because there's no roots to suck it up. So here we are in actually the middle of December, and we're sowing these seeds, and we're not expecting them to kind of poke through the compost until I would say March, April. Probably by May they will be kind of large enough to handle. So we've got to wait kind of a good 4 months before we see any real action for these boys. So they don't want to be too wet. It's a kind of, we're going to walk a fine line between keeping them just moist enough by giving them a little drink, I suppose, because they're going to go into a greenhouse. If we get some sunny days, mildish days through the winter, it could get quite warm in the greenhouse. And if this compost starts to dry out, we'll give them a little drink. You can sometimes tell by the weight of the compost in the tray whether it's dry or not. That feels nice and heavy at the moment, so that's nice damp but not soggy compost there. I can see a couple of gaps. I'm going to grab a few more seeds and just do a little bit of gap filling. We're working on the assumption that you know, 1 out of 2 of these seeds will actually successfully germinate. Excuse me. Oh, that was nice. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of seed in there, but if only half of them come up, then we'll have a nice, I would guess, 60 or 70 little seedlings out of that tray. There's probably about 100, 120, maybe a few more seeds in that tray. So we're going to just dust some compost over the top of there. So let's take it back over to where we mixed our compost over here. There we are. So that's ordinary compost there, and here's compost that we've mixed some sand in with. In fact, I can see a little bit of sand here and there that hasn't quite mixed in. There's some lumps there. So this is quite nice, fine, sandy compost. You can actually buy ready mixed seed compost in the garden centres. We sometimes get some of that if we've got a lot of seed sowing to do, but to be honest, because you know money is tight in the school garden, we tend to recycle some of our old compost for this sort of job, and then just mix it with some nice sand. So they are just buried between, or underneath, a couple of millimeters of compost there. So let's take that out to the greenhouse, which is just next door, and get him settled in for the winter. Right, in the greenhouse, this is only a very lightly heated greenhouse. We've got a little kind of more of a kind of a frost control rather than a heat. That's just set to a low setting, so that if we get some very cold weather, that'll just kick in when it gets particularly cold and just keep the frost off some of these things. Here's our little scented geraniums. You may remember some of our videos back in the summer. We were taking cuttings, and some of them seem to have worked, others not so good. That's a nice batch there. So by next spring we'll be able to pop those into bigger pots and have them in flower in the summer. And here's where I'm going to put these cordyline seeds. There we go. So we've done 3 trays of them actually this year, so we could have a goodly crop of seedlings next year. And look at that, there's their proud mum just outside there, other side of the greenhouse, by the playground. She can keep an eye on her little babies. And just outside the greenhouse, you can see them there. We've got a lovely batch of last year's seedlings. The palm trees have grown really well, and we'll be offering those to visitors to the school, or taking them down to the local garden centre for them to sell and to go into some nice Welsh gardens. There we are, look, so there's mother, that's the teenagers, and that's the babies there in the greenhouse. So we'll leave them in there. We'll give them an occasional drink if we can see the compost has dried out, and we'll keep you posted next spring when those little seedlings come up. Exciting, eh?